We're here to go over UFC, or not UFC, Dana White's Contender Series 2024 Week 2, and also go over the updates to Week 1 before it comes out, which is tomorrow. So I know I'll be behind on that, but of course, 2 of the 5 fights on the first week got switched out, after I did my video. So yeah, it makes you not even want to mess with these. Not a lot of people are watching the Contender Series videos, at least yet. But I know I know most of the people that watch my channel are like, real serious, bettors. They're not just watching for picks or whatever. And probably there's at least a good, 300 or 400 of you guys that would like to see my picks on the Contender Series. So that's why I'm doing it. As far as, I'll go over the results for Tybura versus Spivak here, and I'll do it again on my next video. Normally I would be doing my video for the next card today. But right now, there's only 9 fights up for it, and I'm hoping that they'll add some. I mean, I'm going to have to do it tomorrow either way just because of my time schedule, but I'm hoping they'll add something more than that because I'm sure they're going to add fights to it, and I'll have to go over it on the next video again or something and do an update. But, yeah, right now for the Contender versus Imavov card, there's only 9 fights up, so I've been putting it off for a little bit. But the Tybura versus Spivak card went pretty well for me. I had a few bets that didn't hit, but they were small. My 2 biggest plays on the card, which were 1 unit play on Carol Rosa, 1 unit play on Zalal. That's a $1,000 play on each of them. Those both hit. And then I also had a play on Luciano, quarter unit play that hit. And I did have a play. Originally, I had a 2-fight parlay on Parsons and Gregorio, and Parsons dropped out. So it was just a small play on Gregorio, and he lost. That guy, I don't know that. He seems to be one of those guys that just doesn't have the fight IQ to be able to go out there and win the fights. In his first fight in the UFC, he went out there and he had the advantage on the feet, and he went out there and tried to wrestle for an entire round and gassed himself out. Dumb decision. And then his last fight, he got control with the grappling, through the whole first round, even though he didn't really get any damage or anything. He was kind of defending well, but and then the second round he goes out there, rocks the guy, almost knocks him out, and then goes to the ground with him and gets submitted. So I mean, it's and you can't win, if you're not gonna have the right game plan or not stick to the game plan or not understand what you're losing at, in the fight. So I don't know if he'll ever get a win in the UFC. Maybe he will. He trains with a good camp. I expected him to come out there and knock that guy out again. So. And then the only other play I had on the card was a small play. It was a 3-fight parlay that was Zalal, Chandler, and Chepe. That was just a small $200 play. Yeah, Chandler looked. I'm hoping the UFC will just cut her. After that, it's like she hasn't made weight. At 135, they don't have a featherweight weight class anymore, and she missed weight by so much, and then went out there and clearly, looked like she didn't belong in the UFC or. So I don't know. That was a major letdown. I expected better of her than that, but I kind of fell victim to she beat up a way smaller opponent than her and Josiane Nunes the fight before that, so everybody was kind of high on her. And even though I said that in my video, I was like, yeah, everybody's just saying that because she beat up somebody that's way smaller than her. I still picked her, so that was me being an idiot there. So either way, man, I came out of the card with some good profit. Fortunately, my parlays didn't hit or whatever, but that's not a big loss. So as long as my 2 big plays hit and that other play on Luciano, I came out with some money, and I'm happy with that. And as far as this goes, man, these cards they're tricky to go over because you can't be super confident in any of these guys and any of their skills and anything that they do. Maybe a guy like Kuntsev or Kunev here, you could probably be pretty confident in him because we've seen him, in the PFL and on the Contender Series before, and you have a good idea, of what he's good at and how good he is, But like a lot of these guys, man, they're coming off of regional scenes and they fought no good competition. They fought, They've all got. So there's some fighters you'll come across on here that all their wins are in the first round. You don't know what they're going to look like out of the first round. Just they never had any adversity in their career, so you really don't really know what you're getting with some of these guys. And I can tell you that these two guys right here, um, both these guys are very good. They both deserve to be in the UFC. This fight I'm about to go over right here, Billy Brand and Cody Haddon. If you go down and look at this, like typically when I'm attacking parlays for like the Dana White's Contender Series, I'll go down here and I'll look at this, and I'll make a parlay that's this. It's all favorites. It's not going to pay very much, but at least you win some money. But honestly, there's a few of these that I don't agree with. That I like the underdogs. So that's who I'm going to go with on another one. For the value. But yeah, these guys are like heavily favored, and I don't know. I guess everyone's really high on Haddon because he. Well, I'll get into it in a minute. Let's get into this fight. Or actually, please like and subscribe, guys. It'll help me out a lot before I forget. And I'm getting close to 1,000 subscribers. I'm trying to get up to that point, man. It'd mean a lot to me. If you're new to the channel, what I do is I go through and give out my picks for each of the fights. And usually at the end of the video, I'd give out my bets. But I do that for the regular UFC cards. The lines aren't up, right now, so I'm not gonna be able to do that. But I'll tell you what my parlay will be. I'm not gonna have any like serious money on these. And I'm also available on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, all your major streaming platforms. My social medias are highkick_fight picks. That's Instagram and TikTok, and there's a Facebook group, High Kick Fight Picks, on Facebook. Feel free to post whatever you want in there, MMA related, your bets, whatever. I love to see people's stuff. My goal is to have a group of people helping each other win money. That's what I want to do. And as always, guys, I'm working with Bovada.lv. That's my favorite sports book. That's the one that I've always used. It's right up there with all the other good ones. It's right up there with DraftKings and I guess Bet365 is a pretty good one. BetOnline. .ag is a good one too, but Bovada.lv, if you go to my Instagram, you scroll through all my things, you'll see screenshots of cashed out tickets of all the winnings that I've had over the course of the past few years doing this. So they got easy payouts. They let you cash out your parlays early, all that stuff, man. So and they're a really good book all around. They got the point spreads and everything. So check them out, man. Use my link in the comments. Check it out. Just give it a shot. Try it at least once. If you do, it'll put a little bit of money in my pocket, and it'll help me out. So I mean, yeah, check it out, guys. All right, so let's get into this first fight. First up, we got Billy Brand taking on Cody Haddon. Billy Brand is 28 years old. He's 5'6". He's 5-1. We don't have his reach on here. 3 wins by knockout, no wins by submission. His only loss was by knockout. He went 8-1 as an amateur as well, so not as inexperienced as his pro record indicates. He does have a slight edge in experience, having more amateur fights than his opponent. He's been fighting in Uriah Faber's organization, and that's one thing I keep coming back to is, like, have we had any guys come out of that organization yet that really have made a big splash in the UFC? I don't really think we have, but maybe I could be wrong. If you guys know one, let me know, because I just can't think of any. So both these guys have a thing in common, and that's that both of them, their one loss was to guys that are on a tear in the UFC right now. Billy Brand lost to Peyton Talbot, and there's definitely no shame in that there. And he actually had a very good competitive fight with him, and he made it to the 3rd round with Talbot as well. And he arguably won the 1st round. But other than that, Billy hasn't really fought any guys with a lot of experience yet. And he does fight well in the clinch, good knees in close, throws good teep kicks. Honestly, the fight with Talbot was a damn good fight. You guys should go check it out on YouTube. You could definitely tell both of those guys were very skilled fighters, in that fight. And that was pretty early on in both their careers. That might have been Talbot's 2nd or 3rd fight. Brand has good sweeps and trips, good Muay Thai trips. Seems to have good single legs, good Muay Thai, nice combinations, good spinning elbows. Decent head movement, and yeah, he seems to look pretty damn good. Nasty uppercuts. He has a really, really core Muay Thai foundation in his striking, whereas Haddon has more of a boxing type style with his striking. He has a long amateur boxing record. And if I have to put those two styles up against each other, obviously I'm going to pick Muay Thai anytime, because I feel like Muay Thai is more of a MMA based striking style rather than boxing. But it's not like all Haddon does is box. I'm just saying that I think Muay Thai does a better job in MMA than boxing does. And Cody Haddon is 25 years old. He's 5'7", with a 69, almost 70-inch reach. supposedly. 6-1, 5-0 as an amateur, and this guy's only loss was to Steve Erceg, so there's no shame there either. And I can't say for certain that he's fought the tougher competition, but he at least fought some guys with a lot of fights under their belt, even if their records were really bad. Like his last 2 wins were over guys who were 9-7 and 19-12. So, yeah, I mean, at least they have experience, even though they lose most of their fights. But he has 5 wins by knockout, 1 win by submission, never been finished. He got dominated in the wrestling and grappling early by Erceg. Cody did do a good job of getting back to his feet early. He did have some success in that fight, man, in the striking. He was beating up Erceg in the second round. His downfall in that fight was kind of his cardio. I think he seemed to get very tired in the third round. He slowed down a lot, and he started backing up, and that's when Erceg started really to take over, and then got him down at the end of the third round and was able to steal that third round after winning the first. He does his best work when he's moving forward. He ended up giving up his back a few times, but he survived. Man, he defended well, and he did make a very good account of himself against Steve Erceg. And he has, like I said, a more boxing type style of striking. And it's hard to say who has the advantage on the feet in this fight. They both like to strike. Haddon definitely has good hands. He's not bad on the ground either. He's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, good dirty boxing in the clinch. I think he may have the advantage on the ground if he can get the fight there. But like I said, most likely this fight will play out on the feet. Both these guys deserve to be in the UFC, I think. Haddon is heavily favored on Tapology, and I'm curious, who's going to end up being the bigger guy here. I know Haddon is taller, but Brand has fought at 145 in the past, so I mean he looks kind of stocky and strong. And I really wish I had the odds right now in this fight, but I'm pretty sure Haddon's going to be heavily favored. He's like one of the number one guys coming out of Australia for this weight class. If there's a dog that has a chance on this card, guys, I think Billy Brand is one of them. Like I said, when I'm attacking parlays on this card, I'll definitely make one that's all the favorites with Haddon, but I'm going to make another one with Billy Brand because I do like his chances. I think he could win this fight. I like his striking. And I think both these guys, the way they fight, they're going to come out here looking to make a statement and really get that contract, look for a knockout. And, so, I mean, he has a good chance, man. He throws a wider variety of strikes than Haddon. Haddon has really great hands. So it'll be a fun fight while it lasts. And I'm going to go with Billy Brand. But like I said, hedge your bets, man, and make a parlay with Haddon too, man, if you're really going to be betting on this card, like that. Next up, we got Cam Ralston taking on Torres Finney. And Cam Ralston, he's 6'2". We don't have a lot of information on him as far as the stats. 6'2", fights at 185, 8-2, 4 wins by knockout, 4 wins by submission. All his wins have been by finish. He's never been submitted. He had a loss to Jacob Malkoun on his record early in his career, so he has fought at least one good guy. He went 4-1 as an amateur. Hasn't fought since September 2022, which is because he had 2 fights that were supposed to be on the Contender Series fall out, which makes sense. You wouldn't want to risk going off and losing a fight in some other organization and not get your chance at the Contender Series. So I'd imagine he's been training really hard this whole time, these past few years. He's a tall, long guy. He's way taller, and I guarantee he's going to have a huge reach advantage. Outside of Jacob Malkoun, hadn't fought a lot of tough competition, like I said, but he's good at fighting long. He has really good footwork, great calf kicks. He competed in some Muay Thai fights here and there. He seems to be well-rounded. Good trip takedowns, good jumping knees. He's dangerous off his back as well. I have seen it. I did see him take him down in some of his fights, and that could be an issue for him here with a good wrestler like Finney. But I also like Ralston's footwork. I think he has very good footwork, and I think he's going to be a little bit harder for Finney to get a hold of than like Finney's last opponent on the Contender Series. This is another guy that I think has a good chance just based on his range. That being the smaller guy at 185 like Torres Finney is eventually going to catch up to him, just like Josiane Nunes in the UFC fighting at 5'2" in the featherweight and bantamweight division. It catches up to you at some point. Torres Finney is 25 years old. He's 5'8", with a 75.5-inch reach. He's 8-0 and 1-0 on the Contender Series. Heavily favored to win on Tapology. He's very short for the weight class. Like I said, 6 wins by knockout, 1 win by submission. Won his last fight on the Contender Series. I don't really remember why they didn't sign him then. Maybe because actually I think I do know why they didn't sign him. But he's a big muscular dude. He has a wrestling background. He went 5-0 as an amateur as well. And after rewatching the last fight on the Contender Series, I guess I understand why they didn't sign him. He almost got knocked out. Got rocked several times in that fight. Wasn't doing any damage, just wrestling until he got the submission. And they have been cutting guys. The UFC's been cutting guys like Nate Maness and Sergey Morozov, guys that I think are very exciting and good fighters, and the UFC's cutting them. So it makes sense that the UFC wouldn't want this guy the way he fought the last time on the Contender Series. His strength and his wrestling kind of overrides the skills of his opponents at times. But at some point, like I said, I think the size difference will catch up. I could see him struggling with the footwork of Cam Rowson's. His only advantage is the wrestling in this fight. And, I mean, he doesn't really show like he's got big power. Obviously, he's a huge dude, man. He hits really hard. He's also got pretty long arms for a guy his size. But the way he fights seems like he's just constantly goes forward, leaves openings, swings wild, and then just tries to stay on the body lock in the wrestling and not get hit. And when he did get hit in his last fight, he got hurt. So this is another one, like I said, make you a favorite parlay. I'm sure he'll be a favorite, but I'm going to go with Cam Rouston to win, being the longer, taller guy. I think if he can survive the first round, he'll probably have a pretty good chance at maybe getting a late finish or something, landing a big knee or something like that. We don't know what he's going to look like. He's been out 2 years. He's been training hard, I'm sure, for this opportunity. But we'll see, man. Like I said, I like him as an underdog as well. Next up, we got Cortavius Ramius. I hope I say his name right. I know I got the first name right. Cortavius Ramius is 30 years old. He's 5'4" with a 68-inch reach. 8-2 and 0-1 on the Contender Series. And this is another guy who's way short for the weight class. And once again, he's heavily favored, and after being knocked out in his last fight on the show. So that's kind of a scary thing for him to be so, heavily favored after that. But he has 2 wins by knockout, 5 wins by submission. Apparently has a good armbar because he has several wins by armbar on his record. Like I think 4 wins by armbar. Went 7-2 as an amateur as well. Outside of Ramon Tavares last time on the Contender Series, hasn't really fought any good competition. He's very muscular, powerful, good grappling. If he does get into the UFC, I do worry that maybe the grappling isn't going to hold up at that high level because most of these guys that have tons of submissions and stuff, on their record come to the UFC and then all of a sudden they're strikers because, the people in the UFC are so good at defending and everything. But, and most guys have good takedown defense, but, he can be a little wild in the striking. He definitely should have went for the takedowns last time out. But he's fighting a guy here who's never won a fight by knockout. I think he might have advantage in the striking and in the power as well on the feet. So I think he has a really good chance at winning this fight. He's taking on Michael Imperato. He is 5'8", no reach on him either. 12-6, no wins by knockout, 9 wins by submission. So both these guys seem to be more comfortable on the ground. He has a loss on his record to Julio Arce earlier in his career, as well as Mike Malott. He's fought the better competition, I'll give him that, and I would definitely guys with a lot more experience, and he's had some losses to some guys that suck for sure, but his last win was over a guy who won several fights in Bellator and lost several as well, but it was a good win for him because that guy had fought like Patchy Mix and Ray Borg, Sergio Pettis, so that was a decent guy to beat, he's also a good grappler, great wrestling, good single leg takedowns, very strong with his body lock. I could definitely see this going either way, based on the limited, kind of knowledge we have on Cortavius, but I'll go with Cortavius to win this fight. I'm taking a win by knockout, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Imperato won either. I don't know that these guys are going to want to come out here and look for, a submission, even though that's what they're both good at, because, they might not get signed. So I think Cortavius is going to come out and probably look for a knockout, defend the takedowns. He looks very strong. He's very muscular, so I think he might be able to stuff the takedowns and push Imperato off and get a knockout. Next up, we got Rizvan Kuniev. So I think this guy has just had like issues with steroids throughout his career. I think that's the reason because he fought on the Contender Series before. I'll get into it in a minute, but he's 31 years old. He's 6'4", with 76-inch reach, 12-2-1, 1-0 on the Contender Series. He won by knockout last time out, and like I said, I didn't really know why he didn't end up in the UFC. And then I saw that he's coming off a no contest in the PFL because he failed for steroids, so maybe that's why he didn't end up in the UFC as well. He won that fight, and that guy that he beat in the PFL is the champ over there now, I think. Pretty sure, but he's the guy that Francis Ngannou is about to fight. So good win there. He has 5 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission. Great kickboxing, never been finished. Went 12-2 as an amateur as well. Like he doesn't look like a guy that would be on steroids because he always has like a bit of a stomach. He's kind of got some fat on him and stuff. So I don't really understand what he's doing with the steroids if he's not all jacked or anything. But he's a huge guy. Don't get me wrong, but it just doesn't look like a guy that would be on steroids. He fights well in the clinch, does a lot of work up against the cage, throws good front kicks up the middle. The guy he beat before in the Contender Series was a big dude, like a 6'8" guy, pretty good fighter as well. And yeah, he's very well rounded. He showed some good wrestling in that fight, for a heavyweight. Not as long as of a reach as you would expect for a guy who's 6'4", but he definitely uses it well. He's definitely fought the tougher competition, and he has the better wins. Cardio seems to be pretty good. But how's he going to do off the steroids if he's been on steroids? So we don't know about that. But I think he has the advantage in the striking and probably everywhere in this fight, to be honest with you, based on what I've seen. He's taking on Hugo Kuna. He is 31 years old, 6'4", 8-1, 4 wins by knockout, 4 wins by submission, never been finished. Hasn't fought any tough competition. Not seeing a whole lot watching the tape that leads me to believe that he's going to beat this guy. And I don't have much to say here for him, and he may come out and prove us wrong. Based on the limited stuff I saw and everything, he seems to be a little outclassed here, unfortunately. But you never know. I could be wrong. These are big guys. Anybody can knock anybody out. But I'm going to take Kuniev to win this fight by knockout round 2. Next up, we got the main event. Pat Pytlik taking on Andreas Berg Gustafusson. And if you haven't watched the tape on, really both these guys are pretty exciting. Gustafsson is a very exciting fighter. I'm not really high on this guy now that I've researched him. But Pat Pytlik is 35 years old. He's 6'1", 9-0, and all of his wins have been by knockout. His one loss was by submission. Obviously, he's got the power. Seems to have pretty good footwork, good counters, puts a lot of guys away. Does get hit a lot, stays in his opponent's face, uses a lot of pressure. He may not be well-rounded, though, guys. Everything is striking with this guy, and he hasn't really fought any tough guys yet. So even though he may have the cleaner, more technical striking, I'm not totally sure he will, but maybe he will. But will he be able to deal with the pressure of Gustafsson? Because all of Pat Pytlik's fights look the same. He goes out there, stays in their face. It's kind of a war. He ends up winning by knockout, aside from getting submitted. So I don't really know what his skills are like outside of his striking. He's taking on Andreas Berg Gustafsson. He is 33 years old, 6 foot tall, 74-inch reach. He's 10-2, and 7 wins by knockout, 2 wins by submission. He's fought in the tougher organizations. If we go back and look at what he's been doing or who he's been competing with, FCR, Brave, KSW, Brave, Shogun MMA. Cage Warriors, those are all pretty respected organizations. And Pat Pytlik, I don't think, has competed in any of those. He's never been finished. He went 10-1 as an amateur as well, way more experienced. Has an amateur win over Christian Leroy Duncan, right off the big name there. And I like this guy's vibe. He has the rune tattoo, so he possibly practices paganism, probably Norse paganism being where he's from, kind of like the guy on the Ultimate Fighter show right now, Robert Valentine. My family's practices the paganism stuff, the rune stuff, and all that. And he has a win over. I already said that. My bad. He has a Greco-Roman wrestling background. He's been fighting at middleweight, so I'm thinking he's going to end up being the much bigger guy here. He's going to have the better wrestling, even though he doesn't quite use it as much. He more likes to fight along the cage sometimes and really uses Greco-Roman wrestling that way. Fights well in the clinch. Probably better on the ground. And this guy's a warrior, man. He goes out there and he goes forward and he brawls and he throws bombs. Good knees in close, nasty uppercuts. And this is going to be a good fight for sure. He throws long combinations, really wild but effective. And I really like this guy. In his last fight, I think it was his last fight. It was one of the recent fights that I was watching. yesterday. Was controlling his opponent up against the cage in the clinch, just kind of doing a little work here and there, and really wearing on him. And then his opponents broke off the clinch a little bit and caught him with the elbow. And whenever his opponent caught him with that elbow, it was like he just got pissed and he just started throwing just like 5, 6 punch combinations and ended up freaking, really hurting his opponent and putting it on him. So, yeah, I really like this guy. I'm taking a win by knockout, round one, round two. Most likely, I think Pytlik will have some success early, but I think Gustafsson's going to control him in the clinch up against the cage and wear on him and tire him out, and eventually get a finish. So, and as far as that's it for this card, guys. But let's take a look at the changes to the week one, even though I know it's tomorrow. But so the guy that everybody was hyped about, Islam Dulatov, isn't fighting now. That was the one that I was really interested to see because he was very heavily like hyped up and favored on here and everything. And now Ming Ding is taking on Rami Hamed, and yeah, see, I mean, this is what I was saying whenever Dudalov was on here. Is like, if you look into Ming Ding, like he's been fighting, he's way more experienced. He's got freaking more knockouts than these guys have fights. He's only 29 years old, so I mean, he's a very skilled kickboxer, and and he was like way, just brushed off, for this Dudalov guy, and I kind of had a little bit of trouble believing it, but this guy Rami Hamed, 33 years old, 6'1". He's going to be at a reach disadvantage. For some reason on here it says that Ming Ding is a slight underdog, which is not true. He's the favorite on the betting line. I was looking earlier. This guy's good. I mean, he appears to be good. Fought all over the place. 9 wins by knockout. No wins by submission. 3 losses by submission. All his losses have been by submission. So, and we'll take a look at. He's been. I definitely don't think he's fought as good a competition as Ming Ding has. Let's go look and see if Ming Ding really has a lot of wins by submission as well. Because I did see some fights where Ming Ding was using some grappling. He's got 2 wins by submission, so it's probably going to play on the feet. But he has 27 knockouts, guys. And, if you look at some of the people he's been fighting, 28-17, 22-11, very, very experienced guys who compete in kickboxing. I don't think this is a guy you want to kickbox with, Yeah, man. I definitely going to go with Ming Ding on this one. This guy, Hamed, hasn't fought in a year and 8 months himself. Ming Ding's been staying active. I'm going with Ming Ding here. This guy is trained at MMA Masters. He probably has an edge on the camp or whatever. I'm not too familiar with who Ming Ding is training with or anything, but I like his experience. I like his knockouts. I like his youngness and everything. So I'm going to go with him to win. And then this guy right here, Jose Delgado, sorry, taking on Ernie Suarez. I had gone against Ernie Suarez originally with the guy he was supposed to fight. I didn't see a whole lot. Like, Ernie Suarez has been fighting guys that, he lost like the first round and a half of this fight, got taken down and controlled the whole first round, ended up coming back in the win. But, I don't know. I just didn't see a whole lot that I really found all that impressive. But, this guy's been competing in the LFA, knocked out his last few opponents. I like this guy too, man, and he's heavily favored on the betting line now. He's taller. Juarez is heavily favored on Tapology, so maybe I'm wrong, but I decided to go with Jose Delgado to win this fight, even though it is on super short notice. So, there is that to think about. My picks for this card, I'm going with the underdog in the first fight. I like Antoine Ho over Loner Kavanaugh, and Loner Kavanaugh's huge favorite. Jose Delgado, Bruno Lopez, Ming Ding, and I picked Malik, but I did what I did was I made a parlay that was Antoine Ho, Delgado, Lopez, Ming Ding, Malik, and then I made another one that was the same 4, and then Wes Schultz, because Wes Schultz is a lot more experienced. He's fought to decisions. He's submitted guys. Malik's never been out of the first round, I don't think. So I do worry that Schultz could take over late in the fight if Malik gasses himself out. But chances are Malik might just bulldoze through him. So So yeah, man. So that's it for that, man. And I appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you for caring what I have to say. Please like and subscribe. Check out Bovada for me. And that's it, man. I hope you guys win some money. I'm out of here.